Namaste. How are you doing? Karma Yoga. I have been talking about this Karma Yoga. We need a change in our attitude. An attitude is cognitive thinking, or simply thinking plus associated with emotion and feeling. If I do not start thinking, I'm in stress, associated with the thinking. Whenever you say I'm in stress, you cannot start smiling. And when you say I'm happy, you cannot be sad. You cannot have an expression of sadness. You see, thought plus emotion, thought plus feeling, thought plus emotion. Close your eyes. We'll go to the very old practice, which also has its very deep impact if you practice whenever you are surrounded by the stress, and then you start thinking. Eyes are closed. Find the most conducive place for a smaller practice. Now being comfortable, mentally looking at the neck joint, look deep inside the neck joint, be there, feel the sensation, relaxation and stillness. Moving the mind mentally inside the shoulder joints, being there, feeling the sensation, comfort and steadiness. Moving the mind on the hip joint, being there, sensation, comfort and steadiness. Moving the mind on the entire body from the top of the head to the toes. And experiencing sensation, comfort and steadiness. In that state of being comfortable, be carefree. So being comfortable is at the physical level, and being carefree at the mental level, at the subtler level. We objectify the thoughts, feeling and emotion. What it means? Whenever the thought, feeling and emotion enters the mind, you simply watch them, observe them as objects. When you observe them, so there are two things. One is observed, other is an observer. You see, when I say I know you, I am the knower and you are the known, observer and observed. So you see, when any master uses the word observe or watch the thoughts, feeling, emotions entering into the mind and leaving. So you recognize the two, knower and the known, observer and the observed. That is the meaning of being carefree. That is why I give a metaphor, the birds flying in the sky. Sky is the knower everywhere, and the birds appear and disappear in the sky. That is the key. Or you stand across the road watching the traffic. So that traffic are the thoughts, and you are standing across the road as an observer. And what did I say? That you see them objectively. So you see the traffic at a distance. That is seeing their thoughts objectively. And if you see that I will enter into the traffic and watch the traffic, you'll meet with an accident. That is what happens. When we do not watch the thoughts objectively, we become the thought, we become the emotion, and then stress, anxiety, and the suffering comes into our life. In that state, looking at the tip of the nose and start breathing gently, quick and short breath through both the nostrils. Continue breathing quick and short through both the nostrils in the state of being comfortable and carefree. Continue. And now stop this breathing, moving the mind and the entire body from the top of the head to the toes, slowly and gently, and experiencing sensation, relaxation and stillness. In that state of sensation, relaxation and stillness in the body, look at the breath that is going in and out. Let us simply observe the breath, watch the breath, be aware of the breath. I'm not saying focus on the breath. So first be aware of the body. The body is in the state of sensation, relaxation and stillness. Be aware of the mind looking within. When you are looking at the breath, so what do you look at the breath? The breath is going in and out. You don't focus on the breath. You don't force your mind to be on the breath. If the mind goes to the thought, you become aware, and in that awareness you remind, oh, I was looking at the breath. Where is the breath? So that is not focus and concentration. It is a simple, gentle withdrawal of the mind from a thought to the breath. And then watch and feel the breath is going in, breath is coming out. You're simply watching, feeling the breath. No change in the rate and the rhythm of the breath. And doing nothing, remain as you are. Experience the calmness and the joy inside. You did not associate Your any of these thoughts that enters into the mind, and you are free, you are calm, you are relaxed. Open your eyes gently. So what we were talking about, the karma yoga. So the karma yoga is to recognize the false notion. First thing, that is very important. Why? Because we are discovering our real self, eternal truth, all pervading. Ego is limited, selfish, and that causes the suffering. Did you create your own body? No, it came from the physical parents. Did I create my own mind and all those impressions? No, it came from the previous births. So as such, we did not create this body and the mind. We inherit our physical attributes from the ancestors. Height, skin, color, predisposition to disease. All these are, but why I'm talking about it? Because we have sometime a big ego what we inherited. We start claiming that we are a self-made man or a woman. Our body is a gift from our parents and shaped by genetics. Are you clear? And nutrition that we supply is growing up the body. We did not will it into the existence. And still we have a big ego. So that big ego creates the false notion. Our life force and the capacity to breathe come from the external sources. You see, I claim that I'm a self-made man, but okay, you're a self-made man. And if the air says, let me take the breath out, I will not allow you to breathe my air. Then see what kind of a self-made man we are. So we carry a very strong false notion. The breath that animates us, has cosmic origin. Every living being has this air, and the air is all pervading. Even when we sleep, air is connected to us. We don't know. And that keeps us alive. And we are claiming that we are a self-made man. And you see how well connected we are. We inhale our oxygen produced by the plants. And if the plants is no more, it means we are deeply connected to the entire plants, or including the animals. So it means our breath and the life force comes from the sources beyond our control. Why we are learning this, why we are trying to understand this, the greater and deeper the understanding that idea of a false notion that I am a self-made man or a woman will break up. And once the false notion breaks up, your mind will remain clear, pure. That is why we are trying to understand. In the series of the step number 2, Karma Yoga. Do you still remember what is the real self we have understood? There are 6 characteristics of the real self. The real self is eternal, beyond, past, present, and the future. Real self is the truth. Real self, because it is the truth and it is beyond the time, hence it is all pervading. It cannot be objectified. I explained you in being carefree in a smaller practice. The moment you subjectify any thought, you have a problem. the last email that you sent me, and then I responded to that, and you followed it. So our mind, now we claim that we are intelligent. It is our mind is shaped by the early childhood nurturing. How can I say that I'm a self-made man? Emotional wiring of the mind depends on parental care. Attachment style, no, but not only it depends on the parental care, but it also depends on the past impression that I carried forward in my life. Both. But the major responsibility lies of those impressions which I carried forward, because that is going to respond. So, for example, you can say the attachment styles trace to the infant relationship. But at the same time, that attachment, I am attached to something, also depends on the past impression that I carried forward. What we are trying to understand, the very deeper inside, what is happening when we get into the stress and anxiety, when we feel the mood upswing and upset. Why? Because those impressions are already present in us. So they are awaiting their manifestation. So they find a particular situation. For example, you wake up in the morning, I am upset, and now that thought carries the past impression of being upset, and then you feel sad and upset. So we have to drop these false notions before we understand and before we enjoy the second step of karma. Our ego identity arises through the social mirroring, social identification. That is another problem, the false notion. We construct our self-image. We construct our self-image based on the expectations and the feedback of the society. For example, you have been helping your son, and one day the son says, get up, get lost. And then now, because you had certain expectations, and you get upset. So we have also to get rid of this kind of a false notion. Financial success depends on opportunities. When we say we are self-made man, no. Our financial success depends on the opportunities enabled by the world outside. That is not enabled by, in case of the others, and so they experience the failure. But it means I'm not only responsible for any financial success, the situation outside, the opportunities outside, the condition outside, the people outside, the relationship that I have. So I should not carry the false notion. We are trying to understand how come are we a self-made man or a man. So what happens in the karma yoga? The karma yoga helps us to loosen the grip of the past impressions, negative thoughts and behavior. Where I said, so when I recognize that as such, it is a false notion that I am a self-made man, because millions of people, situations outside, condition outside, opportunities outside are responsible for my success and the failure. So if I do not carry the strong ego of identification, or if I help loosen the grip of the past impression, negative thoughts and behavior, I will enjoy my life. But how to do it? I have to raise my awareness. You send the message that you listen to the talk carefully second time, and you got out of being upset. You see, that is what is the meaning of raising your awareness, and you appreciate the world outside that supports our existence. So in that state of awareness, I see, oh, I live in this room. It is supported by the space and the bricks and the air and the temperature. I did not create any one of them. And they are supporting my existence and also my accomplishment. So when I appreciate what is supporting me, the sun is supporting me. If there is no sun, I cannot exist. If there is no air, I cannot exist. If there is no water, I cannot exist. There is no space, earth, there I cannot exist. There is no heat or the fire. Fire means, fire also means that digests our food enzymes and the hormones. It produces a sense of heat. If I cannot regulate the temperature, I'll be suffering. And they all come from the outside. But I feel that I'm a self-made man. That creates a problem. That creates a duality and a conflict. I have to recognize this. I have to raise my awareness and appreciate the world outside that supports my existence, your existence, and accomplishment. Can you tell me any achievement and possessions have come from inside you or come from the material world? Everything comes from the material world. What we say, our accomplishment and achievement. And we start bragging. So that when we stop bragging, that those thought process stops from the mind, associated emotions also is released and you are free. One of the most important part of the Karma Yoga is to understand that coexistence I should feel gratitude. I should feel gratitude to the sun, to the air, to the earth, and to the space, to every human being on this earth, to the plants. Why I should feel a sense of gratitude? They are supporting my existence. We overlook it. Why? Because of the self-image, because of the ego. So when you feel gratitude, when you are aware that how many things are contributing to my existence is being contributed by hundreds of things outside from the material world, mind leads to humility. A sense of gratitude drops your anxiety, drops your duality, drops your selfish nature. And that is what I'm talking about, the higher awareness. So in Karma Yoga, we change our attitude towards the world and specifically to the things who are contributing to our existence. The sun and the water and the air and the earth and the fire or the heat or the people. If there is no word, there is no opportunity at all. I have to become aware of this. Why? the more and more you think like this, so you see that we earn a lot of money and we have a house, we have all the possessions, and then our mind creates a sense of identity in the ego that I'm a self-made man. And then what happens, that limits I feel the sense of limitedness. So greater and stronger the idea that I'm a self-made man or a woman, I feel limited. But it doesn't happen for a couple of years in the beginning. But as those impressions strengthen in our mind, what happens? That is what we are talking. What happens then? As these impressions strengthen in our mind, it results into isolation and loneliness. I'm a self-made man, so I don't need anyone. How can you you do not need the oxygen? How don't you need the space which built the home? How don't you need the dollars that are coming from outside? How don't you need the people who contributed to your success? But we feel a sense of isolation and loneliness. We think we are solely responsible for our accomplishment. We separate ourselves from the community of support that helped enable our success. And that results into a profound sense of isolation, and especially at our age, you have to be very careful. You are well connected through your mind and emotions, and that is the solution. It also results into anxiety and the stress, the weight of feeling we have to single-handedly overcome all the life challenges. We have a wrong notion. No, I have been carrying single-handedly all my life challenges. Really? I have some problem. I went to a doctor. So doctor handled my pain. But still I have a wrong notion. I have a headache. I took pills. But still I have a wrong notion. I am thirsty. I take the help of the water to quench my thirst. But still I have a wrong notion. That I am single-handedly overcome all the life challenges. No one has done it. Not possible. And that creates anxiety and the stress. Inflated ego and also the arrogance. Believing we are the self-made can inflate our perception of our own spatialness. So it is living deep inside the mind. We have to get rid of it. Lack of empathy and compassion. Either we have lack of empathy and compassion, or we have over-sympathetic. We are over-sympathetic to the people and attached to the people. Opposite of compassion is attachment. So in both the cases, we are disconnected from experiencing interdependence with others. We lose empathy for others' struggles. And that creates a set of mind which causes a lot of problems. So that is one way to understand the Karma Yoga. Why we have to become aware that as my mind is thinking constantly that I am a self-made man. Food is stopped for a week, that comes from outside, then we will come to know what kind of a self-made man we are. The air stops even for a few minutes. then we'll realize that we are not a self-made man. The space is taken away from me. I cannot move. Then we realize what kind of a self-madeness. Space is helping me for the mobility, air, the water. So when you think like this, you feel a sense of connected to the world. And when you feel the sense of connection, it is going to help a great deal. Internally, I'm just saying by thinking. We can also explain karma yoga so once we recognize the false notion, then we drop it, we dissolve it, and we destroy the false notion, ideas about ourselves. So how we create those false notions? Our mind reacts to whatever we see, hear, experience based on our personal biases, opinions. .99999% of our mind reacts to the world outside with the likes and dislikes. So I create a mind that is full of likes and dislikes, and that ultimately creates a false notion. These reaction happens unconsciously. This likes and dislike happens unconsciously inside our mind. I did not choose. So the mind has created those strong likes and dislikes. So even outwardly, we act politely, inwardly, our mind still react with the irritation and the judgment. So I'm stressed. We are trying to understand karma yoga with reference to what is happening in our mind. We mistake our identity with our mind and thought because of these likes and dislikes. That is why we say, I don't like her, I hate her. I like him. What to do with like and dislike? Ease the burden of the mind from the likes and dislikes. So because of these likes and dislikes, those reactions are already accumulated in my mind. Means what? No person, no situation, no time, no location, no moment is responsible for my anger, anxiety, isolation, being upset. Outside. It is me. So we have to realize, we have to recognize these thoughts in our mind. We should need to drop and dissolve these reactions of the mind. So as I have been talking about, karma yoga is about attitude. Attitude is equal to cognitive thought process associated with emotion. In the very beginning, I just talked about it. What did I talk? I am stressed and I start laughing. People won't believe. But when I am in stress, my voice is low and heavy. People will tend to believe. So every thought is associated with the emotion. So now you see that we need to understand this. Because of the wrong attitude, over a period of time, we have created money mind, sheep mind, monkey mind, rationalized mind, cognitive biased mind, like and dislike mind, mood swing mind, depressed mind, grandiose mind, stress and angry mind. I discussed this in the last talk. So these different states of the mind constantly lives below the conscious level in me, and when I meet you, one of that mind is activated, triggers, and then I get upset or anxiety. That is why we need to purify our mind. Purification means that I do not live with these different states of the mind which can definitely cause isolation, anger, emptiness, upset, duality, conflict. It will take me away from permanent peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. But it is very important to understand what happens if we have these different states of the mind, like money mind. So if it doesn't reflect outside in the thought process, but we create a certain habit and attitude in our life when we have a money mind, a kind of workaholism, neglecting health, relationship. And if people, you already told me, we both know. So sometimes people enter into the devious financial practices or using people for a gain, addictive attachment to the money. So what happens with these? I'm always in the sense of anxiety, duality, and a conflict. Not everyone have these different states of the mind to that heightened degree. But even to the slight degree, it causes the problem. Like the sheep mind. Sheep mind, it follows the information without analyzing it. Certain information. I will talk about it, one of my students was talking that, I become angry and it is very important to release the anger. If I don't release the anger, it will remain suppressed. It is a perfect example of the sheep mind which follows a thought process without examining it. You might be believing that also. So I asked him that you wake up in the morning and you had a thought that your dad is crazy. You want to slap your dad, but you cannot do it. You suppressed your anger. So when you went to the office, you saw someone and you get upset. You wanted to react, but you did not react. You suppressed your anger. Like this, you suppress minimum 100 times your anger and anxiety and the reaction every day. Why did not you release? We have a wrong notion. We'll talk about it. So then we have a monkey mind. So sometimes what happens, you get upset because of the monkey mind. So sometimes what happens, when it is difficult to focus on something, the mind picks up a thought of the likes and dislikes early in the morning and then you get upset. That is what happened to you. And that another state of the mind is rationalized mind. Rationalized mind. I rationalize. So there is a reasoning and there is a rationalized. So in rationalizing the mind means that I rationalize my being upset has a strong reason, but there is no reason. And that is the problem. And in reasoning, we find the cause and effect. You did a morning walk for 5 miles, obviously you'll feel a little tired. So there is a cause and effect. And you wake up in the morning after 10 hours of good sleep and you see that you are tired. You are rationalizing, your mind is rationalizing. Very dangerous. You wake up in the morning and you feel that you are upset. We are trying to understand first these different states of the mind which is causing the false notion, and then we will find the solution. So also the rationalized mind, we justify our addiction, our bad habits, our ethical lapses, our idea about others, our wrong notions about others. And we start blaming others. In rationalized mind, we tend to blame others, and we don't take our responsibility. So it's a poor self-control. We prioritize our ego. We're trying to understand so that different states of the mind, so that we will change the attitude of each and everyone by understanding clearly, so that we don't have a chance to get upset into anxiety, feel a sense of isolation, reaction, anger. Then there is another mind, which you can say the cognitive biased mind. Cognitive biased mind means that I have a narrow judgment. I rush to make a judgment about people based on the limited stereotypes, reactive political opinions. We are not going to politics, but I'm just giving an example. We have a biased mind about our body, about our mind. What will happen to me? Nothing is going to happen, and whatever is going to happen will always happen. Another idea that I have observed in people, they always say that, I have stressed and angry mind. Because I have already taken for granted that I have stressed and angry mind, I will be verbally lashing out at the loved ones due to irritation. And that irritation is about unrelated issues. I make reckless decisions. You told me about your social security. I overwhelmed. These different states of the mind must go. Escapism into the addictive behavior also is another way of understanding the stressed and angry mind. Likes and dislikes mind. And we will go back again, each one, how to get rid of these different states of the mind. So likes and dislikes mind. By default, I like someone and I dislike someone, and then I carry that opinion, then I strengthen that opinion, and then I express that opinion, then I react to it. So the entire process causes a lot of challenges in my life. Mood swing mind. That is another mind. I have underlined different states of the mind for the sake of understanding. Mood swing mind. Making important life decisions impulsively based on very short-term feeling. I had certain feeling. I will not talk to you from today. Mood swing. And the next day, oh, I'm really sorry. I told him, no, I will not talk to you today. I will not talk to you and now I feel I'm repenting. Mood swing. Now, Now I feel myself incapable of changing my decision. Why? Because I have a big ego, so I escape. And when I escape, I get more frustrated. And then we can also use the word depressed mind. Hopelessness and lack of self-care. Hopelessness, is also depressed mind. Lack of self-care. Or we feel we are socially isolated even if we are not. Cynical belief, meaningless decisions, they also attribute to the depressed mind. Grandiose mind. Grandiose mind is all about unrealistic overconfidence, resulting in financial ruin. You have in your family. From a poor investment decisions. So these are the different states of the mind. So these different states of the mind develops a different attitude in my life. And that attitude rules me. In Karma Yoga, we change that attitude. Karma Yoga also helps us to know who am I in the space and time and situations outside. Whenever you are upset, you have anxiety, you feel socially isolated, start thinking consciously how smaller I am as compared to this room. I believe it is 12 by 12. So maybe I am 100 times smaller than this room. How many times I'm smaller as compared to this house? Maybe 100,000 times. To the township, maybe I can figure. To the county, to the state, to the nation, to the earth. I'm not even a dust particle in the scheme of this existence. I'm so small. And I have such a big ego. I am so small and I have such a big stress. Do you see that? Your mind will start laughing. You're so small. You have such a big ego. You're so small. You have such a big stress. You're so small. And you see that I have been into anxiety for the last 20 years. The same thing applies in the time. I'm 65. Maybe another 10, 20 years. So total is 85. Compare 85 years to the existence of this earth. Maybe a billion years. So find the ratio of billion years versus 85 years. I'm insignificant, totally. I'm insignificant in space, I'm insignificant in time. Why we have to do this? To get rid of the heavy conditioned mind and the ego which causes all these problems. You start thinking in a way and you say, oh my goodness, it seems that I don't exist. And still I have a big stress, isolation, I'm suffering. So ego makes me highly significant, and ego does not exist, it is a delusion. And that delusion superimposes that I'm suffering. Are you understanding that? Very important chapter in the series of the Karma Yoga. In the following session, we will understand how to get rid of it. So, Karma Yoga means that it means to develop an attitude in the mind to purify the mind. We get rid of these wrong notions and prepare for awakening to the real self. So attitude is equal to thought plus feeling, or you can say thought plus emotion. Simple. I love you because you are always thinking good about others. Feeling of goodness or kindness in a thought. Attitude. Now, this attitude is absent in money mind, in sheep mind, in cognitive bias mind, in strong likes and dislikes mind. So when these mind takes over me, I forget. So I have to create an antidote against the money-mindedness by having an attitude of generosity. We'll talk about it. Against the herd mentality or the sheep mind, I have to develop a discerning mind, questioning and evaluating independently before I go for it. Against the monkey mind, I have to develop a focused mind so that it can take a right decision instead of getting upset. Against the rationalized mind, I have to develop an attitude of fact, self-honesty, and a courage to accept what is right and good. Again, the cognitive biased mind, we have to develop an open-mindedness. That is what we are going to understand in our next talk. Against the stressed mind, so I'm just underlining, so you just think of it. So when you are open-minded, when you have an attitude of fact and the self-honesty, when you have a sense of focus, there is no chance of getting upset, getting into anxiety or reaction. No chance. So against the like and dislike mind, the sense of fairness. Against the mood swing, I will check, is my mind stable? Stability is there, steadiness is there. Against the despair and frustration, I should introduce the hope and optimism. Against the grandiosity, I should introduce the humility in the mind, and the life is going to change. We will ever be living into that state of calmness and peace. Second step, this is only the second step out of the 40 steps. So the Karma Yoga is basically, you can say, a spiritual practice of making symbolic offerings with an attitude of gratitude, recognizing our interconnected dependence on each, in the world outside. So when you have that sense of interconnected dependence, your mind do not run after those different states of the mind. We realize that I'm connected all the time. I don't believe and I don't trust that ego. So I follow. I recognize the principle of interdependence. So I shift my mind from being a self-made man delusion. I'm shifting self-made delusion to a self very well connected, being grateful into the state of discernment. I get rid of these destructive mindset, which I have already explained. I cultivate the beneficial outlook that we are going to discuss in detail. We will understand how to avoid undervaluing our individual uniqueness and how we overvalue because of the delusion. Like those things we'll understand in our next talk. Thank you very much. Be happy and keep smiling.